Am I wrong for telling my mom she is dead to me if she mentors my bully? So my 16 male, mom 40 female is a teacher at my school. Our teacher has a special elective you can take, which is being a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's mostly stuff like grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave, 17 male, to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly, both physically and emotionally, since 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspension on his end, but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school and I hadn't seen him that much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why would she want to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible. She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid, but he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for the kid who comes from bad homes. I reminded her of all the things he had done to me, and she said that she understands, but he really needs help right now. I told her, I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me to stop being selfish, and some kids have it harder than I could imagine, and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me, and she would no longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her the minute I turned 18. I was moving out and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic, but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind, and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused, so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently my art supplies, and I have to come home from school and go straight to my room, and I'm not allowed out except for dinner unless I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day silently until I'm 18 and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming in crying and begging me to talk to her, which makes me feel kind of bad, but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I taking this too far? I just feel so betrayed.
When people used to tell me that women need to really be careful when they travel, I always thought it was like a sexist thing because what? You don't think I can take care of myself? No. I saw this story on TikTok and I need to share with you guys because I could not sleep for a couple of days. And if I can't sleep, you can't sleep. So let us begin. Basically, there's this couple. It's a man and a woman. And this man has been single for a minute. And he finally found his soulmate, like the love of his life. And they go on a group trip to Mexico. Okay, so they're all having a blast. They all go to a bar together. And the girlfriend tells the boyfriend that she's going to the bathroom. He doesn't think nothing of it because he felt comfortable enough to let her go alone. So a couple minutes go by and he doesn't see her. He doesn't think nothing of it because girls, we know we take forever in the bathroom. But then too much time goes by. And he gets suspicious. So he goes looking for her. So now he goes to look for his girlfriend. Girlfriend is gone. She just vanished into thin air. Now he starts panicking and everybody starts panicking because where did this girl go? She just went to the bathroom. Everyone's now obviously freaking out. They're all looking for her. A couple of days, they keep looking, cannot find the girl. I forgot to mention that they drove across the border to Mexico. They didn't take a plane. So after a couple of days not being successful, they decided to drive back to America, get more people to help, get the girlfriend's family members, and drive them back to Mexico to look further. At this point, the boyfriend is so distraught because he's sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I just found the love of my life and now she's missing. Like, this cannot be real. Okay, so now everybody obviously cuts their trip short and they're all driving back to America together. Obviously, the boyfriend is sitting there in the car just thinking about everything that's happening and just cannot believe that this is real. And guess who he sees in another car going across the border? His girlfriend! Okay, so at this point, the boyfriend is freaking out because he knows that his girlfriend is being held captive and he doesn't want to create too much chaos to where they run away. So what he does is he tries to get her attention. He's kind of waving his hand. He's knocking on his glass, but his girlfriend has no emotion on her face. She's just looking straight down in the car, not looking around, just no emotion at all. Okay, so at this point, the boyfriend has to think super fast because once they cross that border, he can potentially never see his girlfriend again. She can be gone forever. So what he does is calls the patrol officers over and says, hey, listen, my girlfriend has been missing. She's over there in that car. She is not moving. She may be drugged. She may be about to be sex trafficked. You guys need to get her now. At this point, the boyfriend is so happy. All the friends are so happy. They're like, oh my gosh, thank God we finally found her. What are the odds? Patrol obviously gets a hold of the girlfriend. This is so sad and so scary. Like, this is reality, guys. I don't know too much about exactly what happened in that moment, but I think the people in the car obviously got out and ran away. But the girlfriend was already dead. She was killed, and her guts were all taken out and filled with drugs to basically import into the US and smuggle into the US. At that point, she was looking down because she was not alive anymore. And everything in her was taken out, and she was gonna be smuggled. Like, can we take that in? She went on a vacation with her friends and her boyfriend. This boyfriend loves this woman, wants to marry her, the love of his life. And she got taken from a bathroom, got her guts, her heart, her liver, everything gutted out to smuggle drugs into the US. Like, imagine taking someone's life just to get money. Imagine the phone call to her parents to explain that to them.
Okay, so I wanted to give y'all a quick story time about how I almost got trafficked by my best friend. Well, literally like set up in traffic. This is why you should trust who you hang around and watch your surroundings at all times. I was dancing in this little hole in the wall in New Orleans, and I had met this girl at the strip club my first night. She was telling me how she was best friends with my best friend, but I had never heard of this girl a day in my damn life. So when I asked my friend, at the time dance partner as well, I was like, hey, do you know this chick? She claims that she knows you. And she was like, yeah, she's cool. You know, she's been dancing here a long time. We consider her like an OG. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm already getting in with the OGs. And if you know, like when it comes to dancing, especially knew I was literally a baby dancer, like 19. I'm 27 now. She invited me to brunch the next day. Mind you, I didn't stay in New Orleans. I stayed in Mississippi. And I didn't have a car at the time. Like I said, I was like freshly out of high school. And she pulls up in this Mercedes, and she texts me that she's outside. So yeah, I get in the car, and she was already being a little awkward. Like, she was cool for the takeoff, but y'all, once we got on the interstate, craziest shit I had ever heard in my life. One of the questions was like, how would your family feel if you never came back? Like, if they never seen you again? Like, girl, who asks that, first of all? But anyway, I kept going with him. So I'm listening. I'm just telling her stuff. I'm telling her, like, why I started dancing, what's my goal dancing. Because at the time, I was really into, like, just the pole work. I didn't care too much about shaking ass and shit. And she was real fit, y'all. Like, this, I don't know. So also, I started to notice on the ride, to New Orleans, I would ask to go to, like, fast food and stuff. She didn't eat fast food. Like I said, she was real fit, and she had a very strict diet. She's ordering, like, I think like a parfait or something from McDonald's. I was ordering, like, all type of stuff, y'all. Wasn't the mission to go get brunch? Okay. So I'm texting my friend. She has my location. I'm texting her, every time that we, make a little stop or whatever, just to let her know, like, everything's okay. Like, I'm with such and such. She real cool so far. So mind you, while I'm making these phone calls, the girl is also making phone calls, but it's like a man's voice I'm hearing. I mean, every time we stop, y'all, we could literally, like, and I brought my little chihuahua too at the time with me as an emotional support animal. I didn't care at all. I bring my dog everywhere. She would stop and, like, call this man every single time we would stop or pull over. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I told my friend, I'm like, girl, does she have a boyfriend? Like, I'm texting her, like, hey, she got a boyfriend or something? Because every time we make a stop, she's calling this man, telling him where we at. My friend was taking too long to respond after I asked her if there was, like, a man involved or whatever. Did she have a man? Okay, we get to the girl's house. Y'all tell me why we walk in and her lights are out. Her lights are out. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what we gonna do if the lights out, So guess who she calls? This man. So she's like, hey, like, the lights are out. Like, what are we supposed to do? I'm supposed to be getting ready for brunch, but the lights are out. Like, it's like as if the lights are out was like a fucking key word or something. Then we go to this motel type of place. Mind you, I keep telling y'all this is like 2015, 16 at the time. So yeah, hotels, they It really didn't matter. So we check into this motel, and girl, when that motherfucker got on that phone that last time to tell that man where we was at, I lost it. Because why do you keep calling him and telling him where we at? Why does he need to know every little move? Like, it's not making sense. We get a knock on the door. It's the man. It's the man. He's like, hey, let me talk to you for a minute. Shorty walks out the door. Soon as he says, hey, let me talk to you for a minute, Shorty walks out the door. So at this point, I'm just looking, I like, like, yo, what's good? And he was like, hey, such, and you're going to need my number from now on. So I'm like, all right. I start putting it, I'm going along with it. I'm like, all right, what's your number? I put the number in my phone, and I'm like, what do I need to save it as? Like, what's your name? This man says, save my number in your phone as King. So at that point, I literally lost it. I lost it. I already knew what was going on. I had, at this point, acted like I needed to go to the restroom. Like, I got his number, and told him it was nice to meet him. Was waiting on the girl to come back. When I came out the bathroom, she still wasn't there. It was still the nigga. Even taking a next breath without asking what the is going on. So he begins to ask me, how do I know my best friend? I'm like, no, how do you know my best friend? He's like, oh, she's been one of my girls for a minute. One of my girls? Like, what the fuck do you mean? One of my girls. She's been one of my girls for a minute now. Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? I was literally shaking in my motherfucking pants at this point.
Am I wrong for divorcing my wife because she couldn't handle me crying in front of her? I, 28 male, and my wife, 29 female, were recently visiting Cambodia. I booked a trip for our 4th wedding anniversary. On our last day there, we decided to visit a genocide prison called S21. We were warned by our tour guide that the place wasn't for the faint of heart. The prison was used to massacre thousands of innocent civilians who were deemed too smart or intellectual during the rule of Pol Pot. I remember seeing torture chambers where they would beat people to death with chains. They didn't hide away any of the brutality. The pictures on the walls literally looked like something straight out of Live Leak. In one of the prison cells there was literally dried up blood on the floor from presumably the captive held there all those years ago. I remember walking past a tree dubbed the killing tree. They took kids as young as 3 years old and would bash their heads into it until they died. Upon reading that, I literally just started sobbing. I was visualizing everything in my head, and I just felt for the kids who had to watch their siblings and friends get massacred in front of them. My wife saw me crying and instead of comforting me, just gave me this weird look. After a while, she did come hug me and ask me if something was wrong. I just pointed to the exit and we left after that. I just couldn't take it anymore. While in our taxi, she asked me if I was seriously crying. I just nodded and kept quiet. I was still pretty shaken up by the things I just read and saw. That was last week, and there has been this weird tension between us ever since. She tries to pick fights with me and just seems dismissive and disrespectful for no reason. A few days ago, I came home exhausted from work, and she asked me if I could do the laundry that day. I told her I'd do it tomorrow and just wanted to relax for a bit. She then got mad and told me that she didn't know she was marrying a woman and then stormed off. She has never acted like this before our trip. I lost it yesterday night after she tried to pick another fight with me and confronted her about her behavior over the past week. I asked her if all of this had to do with me crying. She tried denying it at first, but after a while, she just went silent for a few moments and then started nodding while keeping her head down. I asked why, and she just claimed that humanity has done worse in the past, and she just feels weird about me crying over kids who have nothing to do with me. She also told me that she isn't a therapist and she felt uncomfortable and was disappointed in me for shedding tears over something that happens all the time. She saw me getting mad at her comments and tried backpedaling and apologizing, but I just couldn't take it anymore and just went to bed in our guest room. This was literally the second time she has ever seen me cry. First was when my best friend lost his life to a drunk driver. To all the men out there, have you experienced anything similar with your significant other? I'm just sort of lost for words. I can't make sense of anything right now. I don't know who I can confide in with this, so that's why I'm posting here. I just need a place to vent.
Imagine going on a trip with your sister. Things are going great. You're having a blast. You meet a guy. You guys go out to dinner a couple times. Like, things are going good. But then you find out that he was only feeding you so that you could feed him, literally. Story time. Let us begin. This is another story time that kept me awake at night, so you guys already know the drill. If I'm awake, you're awake. I also want to add that I'm resharing these stories just to spread awareness and ensure that women are just taking an extra step and being safe. I'm not saying that women should not solo travel and have fun on their own. It's just we have to be extra careful because this world is cruel. Okay, let's name the sisters Bella and Stacy. So Bella and Stacy are from America and they travel overseas to go on a vacation. I'm not really sure the place that they went, but they just wanted to enjoy life, okay? They were young, beautiful girls. So they're only there for a couple of days. So obviously they're going outside having fun. And Bella meets a guy named Nick on one of the days where she was at the bar. And they hit it off, like they were having a blast. They were talking, vibing. Bella and Nick have gone on a couple of dates. Every single date has been them eating out. And Bella's noticing that he just wants her to eat. Like he's really making sure that she's full. Me personally, I would love that because, oh, like, you want to make sure I'm well fed. No, it's a red flag now. On all these dates, he's been insinuating for her to come over to his house. And obviously, she didn't want to go over on the first couple of dates because she's like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be easy. On the last day, he was pushing extra hard. He's like, oh, you should come over. Like, oh my God, it's your last day. Like, you need to come over. And she got creeped out. So he's pushing too hard for her liking. So she calls her sister Stacy and kind of fakes an emergency and goes the fuck home. That call that she made to her sister to go home saved her life. That was their last day on vacation. So they left, went back to America, and once she got to America, she felt this rash on her back. So she went to the dermatologist. It's so icky. She's obviously not thinking much of it. She just, gets her testing and lets the dermatologist know to let her know once there's any results and goes about her business, goes about her day. I forgot to mention that Bella is a university student, so she was on campus on her way to school, and her dermatologist calls her and says, listen, Bella, you need to come to my clinic right now. The police are here, and I cannot tell you this over the phone. So she goes, and when she gets there, she does not see the police. She sees the FBI. So she's obviously standing there like, what is going on? And her dermatologist lets her know that the rash on her back was by a cream that was used for cannibalism. Yeah, people who eat other people. So once Bella gave these people the details that they needed, they raided his apartment and found limbs and bones of missing women, whether it was tourists, women that were already from there, just missing women from months and years ago. He was going on dates with them, feeding them, which is why he was feeding Bella like that, because he wanted her to be nice and juicy for when he was about to eat her. Oh, so just please be safe when you go out there. Don't just trust anybody and go over to their homes because he could really just oil you up, give you a nice oil massage so that your skin can disintegrate so he can eat you.
My girlfriend is also my mum, and here's a story on how I found this out. Story time. So if you hadn't already guessed, my mum had some issues. And then because of these issues, she actually ditched us and actually left my dad to raise us on his own. See, my dad did a great job up until he sadly passed away. And kind of by this time, I really never really thought about my mum. Obviously, I wished her all the best. She kind of failed in the department of being a mum. So I kind of just said, didn't have a mum. Like when people ask, I'll be like, oh, I don't have one. She's not existent. Anyway, skipping past all of that side of it, I met my girlfriend 3 years ago. And it's actually a funny story, which kind of adds up when you hear the end of this story. My girlfriend was obsessed with me for like 2 years. So before we even started dating, she was basically in love with me. And I didn't really know much about her. And also she was my first girlfriend. And then when we first started going out and I finally replied to her questions about going on a date, it didn't recognize this girl at all. Like I was so baffled that she was saying how she's known of me for a while, she's lived in the area for a while. I had never seen her face before, but very oblivious and slow person that I am, I just kind of went along with it. She asked me out about 3 years ago now, and we've had a really good relationship. However, what's been bugging me and has been causing arguments is I have never met her family, and I was like, I'm not stupid. And oh my god, when I tell you, this argument went on for about 2 years, and I finally snapped the other week and I said, we are not continuing this relationship until you, one, tell me about your family, and two, I can meet them. And that's when she snaps back, obviously not thinking, and says, it's going to be quite hard to meet my family considering you are it. And I didn't know if she was trying to be cute here and really failed. And that's when she came clean that I am in fact her daughter. And I thought she was playing a joke on me because I didn't recognise this woman at all. She definitely was not my mum. I mean, not to be offensive to my mum back in the day, but she looked the best. And my girlfriend's not a psycho like my mum was. I just didn't believe her basically, and I got really annoyed that she would make a joke out of this because I was so open about my mum. But it turns out she was telling the truth. She is in fact my mum. Didn't recognise her.
Get ready with me while I'll tell you guys how me and my husband met. My husband and I met online when I was 18 and he was 21. He slid in my DMs one random day and he said that I was really pretty and he wanted to get to know me. Whatever that means. At this point, I had already been out of high school for 2 years because I graduated high school at 16 years old. So I was actually ready for marriage. Like, I was ready to start my life with a partner and to go to college and do all those things with somebody that can be there by my side. I'm also not going to waste my time chit-chatting because I just know how my dad is. So I wanted to, at the time, I didn't even have like my real name up on my profile or anything. So my husband knew nothing about me when he slid in my DMs. So I told him that he can simply call my dad, and if my dad likes him, then we can talk. I basically told him that if he was actually serious about me and likes me the way that he said he does, then he would ask my dad for permission first before even trying to get to know me. And if my dad likes him, then we can go from there. So he calls my dad, and I told my dad that this is what I was doing from now on because I was so tired of the mo-monies of the world that were wasting my time just chit-chatting and like, what are we doing, you know? So my dad knew it and he loved that I did that. He loved that I respected him and I, you know, gave his number out in order for men to talk to him first before they talk to me, because if my dad doesn't approve, then it's a no-go anyway. So this was normal, but no guy ever called my dad before my husband. My husband was the first one to just like be like, no, like, I'm serious about you. So he calls my dad and he talks to my dad. My dad asks him, you know, the usual questions. Do you pray? What are you doing? What's your goals? What are you studying? My husband was studying biomedical engineering at the time. And my dad was like, well, you know, I can't let you talk to my daughter yet because the internet is very scary and I don't know if you are who you say you are. So why don't you just come over for dinner one day and we can go from there. And so my dad was thinking, you know, maybe in a couple months he might, whenever he has a chance, come to our house. No, my husband literally, it was Easter weekend, so he had like a 3-day weekend or something. He gets in the car the next day or 2 days later, and on my profile it said that I was from Atlanta, Georgia, because at the time it would just, your location that you would put would be like the nearest major city. So my husband gets in the car, gets his friend with him, and then drives 10 hours from Ruston, Louisiana to Atlanta, Georgia overnight so that he can meet my dad. So he makes it there to Atlanta. He doesn't know where I live exactly. He doesn't know my family name. He knows nothing. All he has is my dad's phone number. And all he knows is my picture and how I look like. That's it. We have not talked at this point. He doesn't know my personality, nothing. All he knows is that he's meeting my dad on the potential, maybe possibility that we could get to know each other. So he gets a hotel, he takes a little nap, and then he calls my dad in the morning, and my dad doesn't answer. My dad was actually praying at the masjid. It was Jum'ah that day, so he doesn't answer, and my husband's friend starts freaking out because he's like, something's wrong, like, he's not answering. Why wouldn't he answer you? Like, what's going on? My husband's like, chill. No, I have a good feeling about this. Let's just take a nap. So my dad ends up seeing the call when he gets out of the masjid, and he calls my husband back, and he's like, hey, what's going on? What's up? My husband's like, hey, I'm in Atlanta, and I want to see you. I want to talk to you, and hopefully we could, you know, I could get to know your daughter and stuff. And my dad's like, wait, what? You're in Atlanta? Like, here Atlanta? Like, and my husband's like, yeah, I'm here, and, you know, I'm serious about getting to know your daughter and meeting your family, and can we come over? And my dad's like, yeah, sure. why don't you guys come over at 6 o'clock tonight? My dad comes home from the masjid and is like, hey, you remember that guy that called me yesterday? He's here in Atlanta and he wants to come over for dinner. So he tells my mom to like cook dinner and stuff, which my mom was gonna do anyway. But I was like, what? Like, are you serious? Because like no guy has done that yet. And it was just like this joke of like, yeah, call my dad and see like which guys are serious or not. And then like my husband actually does it. And I'm like, what is going on? Like he drove, and then I go to search up how far he's actually from my house, and it shows 10 hours away. And I'm like, this guy like seriously drive 10 hours to get here? Like, that's crazy. Anyway, I was like, that's kind of weird, and I'm not really like, I feel like it's a lot so fast, but I was like, whatever, we'll give it a shot. In my culture, when a man comes to see you, like on the basis of getting to know you for marriage, they bring in sweets. And my husband brought like the biggest like tray of sweets. It's like huge. It's like one of those $100 trays, like the huge big trays. And he had it like on top of his head when he walked in. And he comes in, and I wasn't sitting in the main living area. My uncle and my oldest male cousin come over to scope this guy out. And my brothers are there, my dad is there, my uncle, like everybody's sitting there, like all these men in the living room. And he comes and he sits down and he gets interrogated for like an hour. They ask him all the questions. Do you pray? How's the Muslim community where you're at? How many credit hours do you have? What's your GPA look like? What's your 5-year goal? What's your 10-year plan? You know, all of these different things. Where is your family from? Do you have family in the US? What do your brothers do? Like everything you could think of. And then it was time to pray Maghrib, and they told my husband to get up and to lead the Salah. My husband gets up and he leads the Salah beautifully, because he was living in the masjid actually when he was in college. They had a masjid where they had little dorms inside, like little rooms. And that's where he used to live. So he used to lead the Salah and actually teach Sunday school on the weekends. So he led the Salah beautifully. And then my dad comes to me while I was in the kitchen, I think, or like in the room or something. My dad's like, we love him, and we want you to come and talk to him. Do you want to talk to him? And I was like, sure. So I go and make coffee. It's in my culture, when a guy is coming to see you and when he sees you for the first time, it's like a tradition for you to like serve him like really strong Arabic coffee. And that's like when he sees you for the first time. So I come out and I wasn't even feeling him, because I was just like, why would you drive 10 hours to get here? First of all, you don't know me. When I served him the coffee and he takes his hand out to grab it, his hands were shaking. And he was staring at me the entire time. And I was just like, my dad is here. Like, I'm not going to look at you. And then my dad's like, hey, do y'all want to like go to a separate room and talk? And we were like, yeah, sure. We went to the dining room and we talked for like 3 or 4 hours straight, just chit-chatting about everything. We really hit it off. And my dad tells him that we talked about everything. Like, we talked about like actual marriage stuff and like finances and my goal to be a lawyer. Like, we talked about everything that night and really all set it all on the table. And then my dad let him know 2 days later that we were good to go and that we could talk. And then 2 weeks after that, we had our Ketbiktab, which is our engagement, making it official. And then 3 months after that, we had our wedding. Now we are 12 years married, 4 kids, with so many things, so many ups and downs, and just a roller coaster of a marriage. But we're so happy, and I just can't believe that I'm married to a man that I met randomly online one day. But we did it. We're here. And I'm so glad that I gave him that chance to get to know me, because it really changed my life for the better.